Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television, live from Lagos. A quick reminder of our top stories now. 3 days after Bristol helicopter crash, the black boxes are found. The Accident Investigation Bureau takes black boxes to the laboratory to unravel the cause of the crash. The Chief of Army Staff and his counterpart in the Air Force visits the troops in Borno State. The United States reopens its embassy in Cuba more than 54 years after it was closed. Do remember that all our top stories can be found on our website. It's channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. Or you can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from your respective stores. When you're done downloading, we do urge you to please interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS and Windows platforms. If you've got pictures or videos to share with us, simply tap on the Channels TV app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Well, here are some of the reports that you sent in using our Eyewitness portal, and we begin with this picture from Ibejuleke in Lagos State showing cables with high voltage capacity, and this poses a threat to the people living around Labora Owode area. Our Eyewitness report says that it has been like this since August the 7th. Next is this photo of flooded IBB Way in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. Our Eyewitness reporter says that most of the roads within Uyo metropolis are always flooded when it rains. He's asking the authorities in charge to open up the drains. And from Araria International Market, Aba in Abia State, comes this picture of another flooded road within the market. Our Eyewitness reporter wants government to fix the road. Well, this next photo is from Abuja, the nation's capital, showing traders carrying products. Our Eyewitness reporter says this is a bad way of transporting products to the market. Well, thank you for sending these pictures, and please note that you too can report news and events around you, so keep them coming. We thank you so much indeed. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State and his party, the People's Democratic Party, have asked the Rivers State Tribunal sitting in Abuja to dismiss the petition filed by the All Progressives Congress and its governorship candidate, Mr. Dakuku Peterside, for non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. At the tribunal's proceedings today, lawyers to the governor, Emmanuel Okala, argued that the petitioner has abandoned his case because he did not comply with statutory provisions of the Electoral Act, and therefore his petition should be dismissed. According to the PDP, failure to make the payments for any document filed in the petition is fatal to the case, as it does not comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act or the rules of the tribunal. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafo, reports.
At the resumed hearing of the Rivers State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, pre-trial hearing ought to have commenced. However, the People's Democratic Party and Governor Nyesom Wike had an application seeking to quash the petition on the ground that it did not comply with the provisions of the law. According to the two respondents, the petitioner did not comply with the laid-down provisions for filing petitions, indicating an abandonment of the petition. Responding to the argument, counsel for the petitioner, Chief Akin Olujimi, argued that he did not accrue any liability for his inability to pay any fees because the document upon which the respondents are relying on in their application was a voluntary letter written to the tribunal to request for the commencement of the pre-trial hearing. And in any case, it is not prescribed anywhere in the Electoral Act that fees should be paid for such an action.
So the respondents to the petition brought motions today to say that, when we were asking the registry of the tribunal to give us a date for this pre-hearing, we did not pay 100 naira. And for that alone, they say the tribunal should dismiss the petition. But we say, okay, show us where it is written that we should pay money for merely telling the registry to give us a date, you see, for today. Of course, they couldn't point to any provision because there's none in any rule anywhere that we should pay 100 naira for telling the registry to give us a hearing date. They were now, of course, trying to say, okay, one court has said something somewhere, that should be applied. Of course, what one tribunal says somewhere does not bind another tribunal, because it depends on the arguments that were put before that other tribunal and which tribunal base is ruling on. But as far as we are concerned, there is no provision anywhere that we should pay 100 naira for merely asking the registry to give us a date for pre-hearing.
The tribunal has reserved ruling in the application for Monday, the 17th of August. Amaka Okafo, Channels Television News.
The Equity Group of the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State has dismissed the suspension order against 9 of its members, saying the factional chairman who made the order lacks the constitutional power to do so. According to the group, the factional chairman, Ken Emekahi, has himself been suspended by the National Working Committee and National Executive Committee of the party, and therefore is in no position to make such orders. The suspended members have been referred to the State Disciplinary Committee for cross-examination.
This was the scene last Thursday when the Equity Group, a faction of the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State, inaugurated its executive council from ward to state levels. Barely a week after, 9 members of the group were suspended by the Ken Emekahi faction for what it describes as anti-party activities. However, the authentic PDP, as it calls itself, has dismissed the suspension order, maintaining that those who gave it lack the constitutional right to suspend any member of the PDP.
The ESCO noted with dismay a publication by a faction of the PDP in Anambra State purporting to suspend Comrade Tony Woye, Dr. Tony McFoy, Prince Osie Ezenwa, and other notable stakeholders of the party in Anambra State. The authors of the publication lack the locus to speak of matters concerning the PDP in Anambra State.
The factional state chairman, the suspended members of the group, insists that the order stays.
What they are doing amounts to conduct likely to cause breach of the peace. Because people going about impersonating elected officers of a party, presenting themselves as officers of a party when they are not, convening meetings when they do not have powers to do so, and making all sorts of statements on behalf of the party when they are not empowered to do so. These are conducts that are likely to cause breach of the peace, crisis, anarchy.
There are other issues to be dealt with as members of the Equity Group also ratified the suspension of the National Publicity Secretary Olisametu by his Otolo ward in Newi local government area, saying he has indeed erred in many ways.
The Executive Council of this, our great party PDP in Anambra State, have decided to uphold the decisions of the Ward 1 Otolo Newi of the PDP and that of the local government executives.
If for any reason he commits any breach of the PDP constitution, the constitution is very clear. We should take the matter to the National Executive Committee. That's the only body that has the constitutional powers to entertain.
The continued bickering within the PDP fold raises doubt as to whether the party is truly on the path to reclaim the Anambra State governorship seat in 2018 to fulfill its constant promise of contributing positively to the well-being of the Anambra people.
On Thursday, when the President met with members of the National Peace Committee at the Presidential Villa, a lot of interpretations were given for the meeting. But the spokesman of the President, Mr. Femi Adesina, in a statement, quoted the President as saying that all those who looted the country will be investigated in a matter of weeks. The President said that he is irrevocably committed to doing all within his powers to break the jinx of corruption, unemployment, and insecurity in Nigeria. In the words of the President, quote, Nigeria has to break this vicious circle before we can make progress. Since then, the President's comments have attracted mixed reactions, while the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and the Labour Party calls on the President to extend the anti-corruption dragnet to other past administrations. The All Progressives Congress, through its National Publicity Secretary, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, warns that the political parties and other opinion leaders not to truncate the process. The president has also constituted an advisory council on corruption. The council is headed by a renowned legal practitioner and senior advocate of Nigeria, Professor Issa Sege. Now joining me on the News at 10 to look at what this council should be doing and the president's resolve to probe those who he says have plundered the country's monies. I'm now being joined by Mr. Paul Adanaba, a senior advocate of Nigeria. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the News at 10.
Thank you so much.
First, let's talk about the new advisory council headed by Professor Issa Sege. You just heard that report. If you are a member, what will you be telling the president?
I will be telling the president that this is a very serious assignment, and Nigerians are watching, the international community are watching, and already 3 of such groups have put down $5 million from what we read to support this anti-corruption drive. So it's not a party affair, it's the national interest that is at play here. The integrity of the committee, beginning from the chairman, the rest of them, the 7 of them, and as a group, their integrity is at stake. History is beckoning, and if you trace back from when the head of state now was a minister, there has been that promise that this country will be better by this time. Now that he has another opportunity as a president to right a lot of wrongs in this country, particularly in corruption, it must not be missed.
We'll also look at when the President Muhammad Buhari was with the petroleum industry and as minister.
Yeah.
But where should this probe begin? Do you support that this probe should begin from 1999, for example?
Well, I do not expect that there will be a probe that will be as vast as the ocean. That will make it impracticable.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that we will start from what we know now, what is realizable now. In my part of the world, we make a proverb and we say that when the hand breaks an iron bar, the wood will begin to shake. Now you will begin to break the irons we have that are hot. You look at iron and work on it when it is hot. Let's begin with this, with the past administration. When I say past administration, I do not mean federal government alone. So most of the at least 3 parties were prominent in this in the past administration. The satellite of the probe should be spread completely in the last beginning from at least when Yar'Adua came in till now. If that is done, and then we will know where we are, and then know where else to go to.
Okay, let's look at the APC. Of course, crude oil remains the mainstay of our national life as a people, which explains why a lot of people want the place to be jigged. Do you support a jigging of the NNPC?
I do.
What is this going to bring out?
If we continue to do the same things we do before, we will not get a different result. We have voted as a country for change. And if we are talking about change, it will include the way things are done primarily at NNPC. And you're beginning to see that there's been a reduction in the directorates and that for effectiveness. And we should begin to look for ways of having an NNPC operate in a transparent manner. You and I were in this country to see that in the past, nobody could say, this is actually, put your finger in on how much oil that was sold at each point and how much we realized. You saw the running battle.
Let's put our finger on it, actually. Yes. Do you suspect that anyone will be arrested?
Oh, sure. I mean, arrest is a common thing. I'm talking about
arrested and investigated and prosecuted.
You investigate and arraign those found where you have prima facie case and allow the courts to determine.
Okay, now the President Muhammad Buhari was petroleum minister under the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and he reminded the nation that, let me quote his words now, as petroleum minister in the 1970s, I could not travel abroad until I had taken a memo to the Federal Executive Council asking for ESTA codes. Nowadays, everybody does what they want. Does this in any way explain the rot in the oil industry today?
That is the elementary part of what we expect to happen. You and I were also here when the governor of the central bank told this country of monumental sums of money that were not even returned. So what is being said, there's a lot of issues about oil block issues and all that, to the point that in this country, it is easy to say, I'm in oil and gas business. I'm in oil and gas.
That brings me to another thing. You remember the Professor Afe Babalola San, also a learned colleague like you, said recently that he bidded for an oil block and he was told to pay a ridiculous amount, which he said that didn't make sense to him, about $30 million. And he rejected that. But it dawned on him at some point that he cannot continue with this still. How much of this kind of rejection by someone in your position, rejecting an oil block, what does that speak of a country like ours?
It means that there are still Nigerians that are patriotic. But how many Afe Babalolas do we have? So now that we are going to talk about probe, will let us get into all those oil blocks and all those oil deals. The ones that are genuine and clean should be left. There should be no witch hunting.
Thank you so much indeed.
Those that are not...
Mr. Paul Ananaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you so very much.
When the News at 10 returns, state government confirms the outbreak of bird flu. That's coming up in the moment. Stay with us.